everybody, and welcome to this webinar from HotDocs and K2, Automate to Accelerate. We are really happy that you've joined us this afternoon. By way of introduction, my name is Graham. I head up Global Services for HotDocs, and today I am joined by a couple of others. I'm joined particularly by Paul from K2, and you've got myself and Rick from GVA as well. And today on this webinar, we've got a few things we would like to do. Is I'm going to give a bit of an introduction to HotDocs after Paul has taken you through an introduction to K2, and then Rick from GVA is going to talk about using HotDocs and K2 together and what benefits that's had for his organization. And lastly, we're going to have some questions and we're going to close up and summarize at the end. Now, because of that, we want this to be as interactive as possible. So there's a question panel in the GoToWebinar panel. Please ask your questions, and we will get to your questions at the end. We'll answer them to the best of our abilities. And if we don't have time to answer all the questions that we have, we will then respond after the webinar to those requests. So at this point, I'd like to hand over to Paul from K2, who's going to introduce himself and take you through a high-level view of who K2 are. So over to you, Paul.
Thanks very much, Graham. It's a great introduction, and good afternoon, everybody. As you can see there, my name is Paul Blackwell, and I'm the regional manager for K2 across much of Europe. So I thought we'd start today with just going through some of the things that the developments that we see in researching our customer base. We're hearing a lot about the drive for automation, as it says there, 1 in 2 CIOs expect automation within the next 3 to 5 years. We see a big move to the cloud, and we also see the concept of mobile first coming in, and the problems as well that this draws, in that I think most organizations would like to be able to offer a mobile solution to their employees and potentially to their suppliers and customers as well, but it does prove to be quite difficult to be able to do. I think also when you look at the insides of an organization, there's quite a complexity of process within an organization, because there's still the disparate silos. HR will have their HR solution, finance will have SAP or Oracle or Sage, facilities will have their applications. And that's where something like K2 comes in with its automation and integration capability, giving organizations the ability to be able to bring these things together, the glue that sticks the different silos together. What else are we hearing from businesses? Well, it's pretty much the same thing I've been hearing, certainly for the last 10 or 15 years, which is there's still a lot of paper out there. There's still a lot of manual processes, and quite often that leads to frustration and eventually to a lack of compliance. Organizations are simply not able to produce the evidence to say that they've done the right thing at the right time and in the right way. So there is a way of solving this, of course, which is that you can look to do custom development. The Microsoft answer, if you like, which is if you throw lots of developers at an issue, then you can develop your way into a solution. But as we know, this can be quite costly and slow, and quite often by the end of the project, the original goals have not been met, and it doesn't deliver the desired outcome to the people who want to be able to use the system. So you'll hear about a lot more things like low code, and some people even refer to it as no code, and combining that with automation capabilities from a technology such as K2, and the evidence in terms of the way that the market is heading is certainly borne out by Gartner and Forrester. You'll see some Gartner comment there around 60% of development will actually be done outside of traditional IT teams, driven by the rise of citizen developers. I was with a bank last week in Prague, and they've developed 175 workflows in 2 months without any developers at all. That's the kind of thing that organizations are now doing across Europe, enabling themselves to be able to develop solutions they want using technology such as K2, but without the cost of development. So what exactly does K2 give you? Well, K2 gives you a workflow application that's drag and drop. It's got built-in time-saving devices such as rules and reusability, and it enables you to then be able to build those solutions that you want to do. It also has an enterprise scale forms capability, which is browser based, drag and drop as it says there, and it can also enable offline working. So if you have employees or citizens who may go outside and need to take a photograph of something, for instance, they can do that using their mobile device, but they don't necessarily actually need to be online at the time that they're capturing that information. And those applications can also, the forms can be made to look exactly like your existing applications as well. We also offer a class-leading integration capability, offering integration into existing applications, as you can see there, such as SharePoint, such as CRM systems and SAP, and of course HotDocs as well. It's very important that we have the integration to HotDocs to enable us to take advantage of the superb facilities that their technology brings. And finally, within K2, we have a smart way to judge how your business is performing, based around reporting, so process insights, if you like. And so you can see how many have you done, who did them, when did they do them, and what's our backlog, what have we still got to do, and how can we do this in a quicker way. And if necessary, you can extract that data into things like Power BI or Tableau. So that's a little bit about the technology of K2. We're used by, as it says there, top companies across the globe, around 2,500, everywhere from the USA through to Australia, and every country in between as well. Companies like Microsoft, Shell, Bank of America, but also lots of small and medium-sized companies too. So that's a bit about K2, and I'd like to hand you back to Graham. Graham.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Paul, for taking us through that. I have had the privilege of working with K2 on our integration together, and being able to see the benefits that that integration has. And Rick in a second is going to be able to take you through an example of that, about how his organization does that. But before we get into that, I'm going to take a minute just to tell you a little bit about HotDocs, about who we are, where we got to where we are just now, and a bit about the reasons why our technology is around and being used so readily within many different organizations. And just as I do this, I want to pose a question. We've heard a lot about business process management workflow from Paul, and a question to kind of set up what we do as a company is, when you think about your organization, I want you to think about what is the most common process to create a document. How do you create documents in your organization? Well, I find that it's a very manual process, even in this day and age, of creating a document. The process is very manual, very error-prone, and you have a lot of bad outcomes when you create them because of that manual process. And I find that the first thing that we do when we create a document in many organizations is, in the three-stage process, is we find a document that we've done before. So if I'm about to create a new contract or a new form for somebody, I find something in my bottom drawer, in my email, in my document management system that's similar to something that I've done before. So I go and find a previous version of a document to start from. I then, once I've found that, I then rename it for the new purpose that it needs to be. So if I have a contract for customer A, that I've found and I want to use as the basis, I then rename that document to customer B's contract. And then I have a customer contract that is named for customer B that has all customer A's details in it. I then rename it, and then I go on to the third stage, which is then modify it. I then copy and paste from other documents. I manually edit all the data and compile that document. It's a very time-consuming process, but not only is it time-consuming, it's also very risky. How do you guarantee that the documents have all the right data in all the right places for the right context that you're creating that document? How do you ensure fidelity of that document? How do you ensure that all the data is correct, all the clauses are in the right place to make it a compliant document to the rules and regulations of your industry? So we, as an organization, have a technology that helps with that. And we've been doing this for a long time. We've got well over 1 million users worldwide, over 9,000 customers. Actually, this year that's gone up to 11,000 customers globally. And we're the pioneer and global market leader with over 20 years experience. We've been doing this for a long time. And we're currently deployed in over 60 countries, UK, US offices, and a global network of partners who offer services to integrate, who offer services to create templates, who offer services in best-of-breed technologies like K2. And we're a proven technology across multiple sectors. banking, legal, insurance. But wherever there's a standard document and standardized document that you want to create, we can automate it. And it's underpinned by our Microsoft Gold partnership status, and also the analysts recognizing us as a cool vendor and best of breed technology. And here's just a little bit of the customers that we have. A little look at something like RBS with 12,000 people creating documents on a regular basis through our technology. Law firms, different industries. We have a whole bunch of publishers who create content and distribute that content. So we have lots of different customers ranging from 1 and 2 people within an office to some of the world's largest organizations using our technology to enhance their document creation process. So we're all about reducing risk. We're all about making sure your documents are risk-free when they're produced, about ensuring compliance, making sure that the rules and regulations about creating documents and what goes in them are followed and allowing you to report on them. Enforcing standardization, making sure that all the documents that are created in your organization are standardized to your internal policies, that the headers, footers, cross-references, tables of contents, the branding is all standardized through every document that you create. And also taking all those things that I've just talked about, but actually making your document automation process, your document creation process more efficient. Now, I'm not going to go through all these points on the slide. You can have a look at those later. But these are the core areas and core problems that we help our customers with. So that's very high level, but how does it actually work? What do we do? Well, we put tools into the hands of non-technical business users, those people who understand your documents the best, and allow them to take the documents they produce on a regular basis and transform them into intelligent HotDocs templates by finding all the changeable pieces of information and the business rules and inserting HotDocs instructions in their place. And then once we've created templates, we then distribute those templates to be consumed by end users to produce documents from them. So an end user could, if they want to, go into one of our technologies and view an interactive form, an interview that captures all the information needed to produce a document dynamically. But in this instance, what we're actually talking about on this webinar is the ability to capture that information in a different way. Paul described how business process management, and explicitly K2, is the glue that binds a lot of different systems together and binds processes together, that coordinates and collaborates with other systems to push and pull data from your one source of truth, wherever that data might be. And what we can do with our technology is easily and quickly map that data from all those other systems and from K2 and feed it directly into the documentation that you want to produce, whether that's a simple letter or a multi-page complex contractual document. So K2 allows that collaboration and that backbone of the process to then push and pull that data to feed to HotDocs, and we can produce a document or a suite of related documents based on the data that we've collected during that process. So one set of data can produce your entire catalog of documents that you want to, and then that document or documents can then be fed back into the business process to go off for authorization and sign-off, to be sent to the document management system, can be pushed into your e-signature tool if you want to send them out to be signed. We also then collect all that information that you used. So all that data that we collected during the interview process or via K2 is all saved. So it allows you to have a real-time look at what data you've used to create those documents at that exact moment in time. So, in a nutshell, we allow you to capture all that information in any other system or through HotDocs, feed it into intelligent templates to then produce the documents and feed it back into the process as well. So that's a very high-level overview from me about what we do at HotDocs. You've heard from Paul. I think it's good now to hand over to Rick, who's going to take you through a bit about what that means for his organization and how his organization has used these two technologies together. So over to you, Rick.
Thanks very much, Graham. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Richard Mackman, and I am the head of development at GVA. So I'm going to just literally put a agenda of what I actually want to talk to you about today. First, I'm just going to explain who we are in a little bit more detail and what we actually do as an organization. Then I'm going to explain why we chose HotDocs and K2 and what our pain points were that we wanted to solve with those two technologies. Then I'm going to actually look at and describe to you how we use them both today, and I'm going to just summarize some of the benefits to our organization after we've been on this journey, and then I'm going to just touch on future plans. So GVA, we're international commercial property advisors. We're involved in the whole life cycle of commercial property. We're involved in planning, construction, and valuation, the full life cycle of buying and selling and letting. And specifically for this talk, we're involved in property and asset management. We have 12 offices in the UK, and we're part of a wider European Appliona group. So we have a user base of around about 1,500 employees, and some of our clients range from clients in the banking and finance sector, telecoms, and a number in the public sector. So what are our pain points? Why did we need to look for a technological solution to our problems? We had a problem with, probably like a lot of organizations, with standardization of processes and with documents. Well, because we have 12 offices and because of the way that processes have evolved and have been done locally, we had an issue with offices behaving correctly but in slightly different ways, and that wasn't what we wanted as an organization going forwards. And especially when we took large instructions from local clients, we found email was the only coordination that was working, and we all know the problems with email sometimes. It's not the most effective medium for controlling business processes. We could not measure our progress very easily, so we needed something to help us with that. And then changes to processes were very difficult. And for us, when we're dealing with clients' information and data, the risk of missing things is high, and we needed to reduce that risk. So these are the reasons why we embarked on this journey. So now I'm going to just explain why we chose K2. We have the process that the problem we were trying to solve. One of the particular problems was a way to streamline the processes within our property management team. We chose K2. One of the reasons was because we have a small development capability, and we are a Microsoft house. So .NET platform was a big tick for us, and I don't think the development team would be very happy working with anything else. So that was the first tick in the box. We needed a flexible platform that could communicate with multiple data sources and endpoints, some of which we'd written ourselves, some of which were external. So we needed to communicate with SQL Server for our data sources, we needed to communicate with Salesforce, our document management system, and also our documents. We needed good metrics for measuring performance, obviously addressing the pain points of not being able to measure. And we wanted a platform that we could use not just for solve a single problem, but then can use for multiple processes within our business. And finally, but not to understate this, we also look for tools where there's a community, so where we can find, whenever although you've always got the official support channels, if there's a lot of people who are talking about K2 or sharing ideas and information, it's always a plus point for us. So that was another one of our final criteria. So why did we choose HotDocs? In the process that we're talking about, and in general, probably like lots of businesses, we do generate lots of documents. We generate letters of appointments, contracts, tenancy agreements, etc. We needed something that could generate those for us and do it in a way that took the risk of generating the documents away from users. And we needed it to be able to integrate with K2. Obviously, HotDocs has a great integration with K2, so it was a great tick in the box for us there. The other thing we needed to do was in previous solutions, we've always had to hand code the generation of documents. And what we wanted to do was remove sort of the development resource away from the document preparation resource. I don't think many of the developers were unhappy with that situation. It means that experts in Word and experts in the subject matter can focus on the template, and the developers can focus on the process and integrating together, and it works really well. We needed to provide a web-based portal for all the documents to our 1,200 users rapidly. This was a secondary use case for HotDocs in our organization. It wasn't specifically with K2. This is using HotDocs and using its web intranet-based solution to quickly get standardized documents to any users without a massive rollout. And the other reason why we chose HotDocs was the support. The support is fantastic. Whenever there's any issues or any questions we were able to get hold of key people, and our problems were solved quite rapidly. So what did we do with these two technologies? I kind of hinted at it earlier in this conversation. We automated our process of mobilizing new clients into our property management service. Now, this is something that we've traditionally done by hand or by various sort of ad hoc methods, successfully, I might add, but we needed a way to do that better and more reliably. So we would perform hundreds of these such mobilizations every year, and we do it spread over multiple locations in our organization, and that's where the communication and the coordination becomes a challenge. When we're mobilizing the client, we have to onboard multiple properties, and each of those properties can be the simple sort of office buildings, or they can be complex structures with multiple tenants and areas and suppliers. So we built a process that coordinated all the activities from the start of receiving any information from the clients all the way through to sort of onboarding all of our other documents and contacting any of the tenants and coordinating all the activity between our surveying staff and our finance staff. So this is I'm not going to go through this, by the way. This is just to give you an illustration of the process that we went through, from cradle to grave, from a new client instruction through to onboarding every property, the steps that we had to generate documents and approval processes. So it was a challenge, and I think this just illustrates how complex the process was. But by using K2 and HotDocs together, this made it a much simpler process. We also built as a user interface. We actually built our own portal called the HIVE. Now we didn't take maybe the traditional route that some users of K2 choose, which is to use a SharePoint-based route. We built our own route, and that was a choice. But there were certain aspects that we wanted to control. We built a custom work list that was linked back to the K2 service, and we produced about 13 different HotDocs templates for generating letters for clients, letters for advising of changes of banking information, tenancy agreements. A number of, and all relevant, all automatically generated and controlled at source. Just a few pages. I've just included a few shots really of key sort of data entry pages within the HIVE. Again, I don't think this talk is really about describing the detail here. It's just to illustrate this is the approach we took. So I mentioned earlier the other use case that was important for us, and this is with HotDocs Server in its own right, was that we wanted to standardize all of our corporate document templates. That's where we started. We started with our standard blank templates. We wanted to lock them away so that they were only controlled within the GVA Docs, the HotDocs environment. So we produced fairly simple questionnaires to generate the documents with pre-filled elements, and we changed the branding appropriate perhaps to some of our sub-brands, and we rolled that out immediately using a web-based portal. The key benefits to us here is that it's actually not controlled in any way by IT. Once we rolled out the implementation, we have a separate team that controls the standards and templates, and they're able to update these templates as the business needs come along, and we don't need to go through any complex change management processes with IT. And recently we went through a recent rebrand, and I think the templated approach proved its worth. I think something that would have taken us weeks and maybe months to change all of the necessary materials took us literally a few days. So this is the example of the portal that we implemented. We called it GVA Docs, and we leveraged some useful functionality that was provided to us by HotDocs support team, and we're actually moving forwards, taking the full product known as the Hub, which is going to take our use of that automated generation a step further. And we've moved on now from the corporate templates, and are now starting to look at more specific and more deeper uses of HotDocs. So we're looking at particular team and service line specific deliverables, such as our standard terms of appointment for any work that we do, so we're able to control all the legal aspects of that, and also automating the production of client deliverables such as valuation reports, which allows us to sort of pull data from other locations, generate the document, and then allow the surveyor involved in the valuation process to add value by providing the bits which isn't typing away on a keyboard, but is understanding and validating the information that we're supplying to our clients. So I'll just now round off and just go into the benefits. We successfully delivered 80 plus mobilizations since go live. We've improved the accuracy of each mobilization, resulting in a smoother transition for clients and tenants, which is always good news to have happy clients. Staff are able to deal with multiple mobilizations easily, and delays are managed. Whenever there's any issues, we're always aware of it early. And what it's given us is an improvement in throughput of work with the same. So in effect, we've made a cost saving because we can do more with the same staff. There's now a focus on further improvement. Once you have automated a process, you've got the data to measure and to start questioning, well, why are we doing that? Why don't we just join, rather than going from A to B to C, why don't we go from A to C? And sometimes that, and there's been opportunities where that's been able to happen. And as I mentioned earlier, HotDocs has been adopted as the go-to source for all of our corporate templating in the organization. And now moving forwards into the future, we're actually looking at wider uses in our HR team and other areas. So I just want to thank everybody for this part of the for listening to my talk, and I'll hand you back to Graham.
Fantastic, thanks very much, Rick. It's great when we do projects and we chat with our customers to find out how our technologies have impacted their business and see the benefits that they have. And it's been great over the last few months talking with Rick about how both HotDocs and K2 have provided immense benefit to their organization. So just to close off, we've got a couple of questions. I'm going to field these out to both Paul and Rick on the call. Paul, we've had a question about e-signatures and tools. Does K2 integrate with any e-signature tools for documentation?
Yeah, so we integrate to DocuSign, which also used to be called CoSign. I think CoSign and DocuSign then merged together. We use it ourselves when we send out contracts to our customers. And yeah, so we integrate into DocuSign. If somebody has a different digital signing technology, then yes, we can also use our APIs to be able to integrate into that as well. But DocuSign is the market leader, so we generally tend to recommend that one.
All right, fantastic. And another question on platforms. So we've talked a lot about the technology, but what platforms do we have in terms of where does it all get hosted? So I'll take this from a HotDocs perspective. We have both a cloud solution and an on-premise server solution for our technologies. So you can have a cloud or on-premise or a combination hybrid of the two. And Paul, what about K2?
Yeah, exactly the same. So though today probably 90% of our customers are still have their own environment of K2 on their own internal systems, we are also able to offer a completely hosted K2 as a service to customers as well. So yeah, the new world and the old world, both.
All right, fantastic. Thanks for that. Those were the two questions that we have just now. Again, if there's anything that you would like some follow-up information on, the email addresses are on screen now, so you can get in touch. Just as another side note, we have one of our colleagues is actually in the Netherlands just now. So if you would like to set up a meeting over the next couple of days, there's somebody over in the Netherlands to be able to take that meeting. So we'd love to hear from you. If this has given you any ideas or you've got any follow-up questions, please get in touch with us and we can arrange further meetings and answer further questions as required. So I think just to round off, we tried to keep it to half an hour. We're about 2 minutes over, but from my perspective, I want to say thanks to Paul and to Rick for coming on this and for sharing about their technology and Rick's experience with both HotDocs and K2. I hope this was informative for you, and we look forward to speaking to you all very soon. This webinar will be going back up on our websites, and we'll be sending out links so you can watch it back again as well. All right, thank you very much this afternoon, and we hope to speak to you all very soon. Thank you.